So this is part D of class exercise number 4, part D. I'm beginning right now with it. Let's talk about something very basic. I want to start out with is the index.html. Remember now, all these files are linked. It's an external CSS with it. So I need for you to just go in, just make some definition for me. HTML and the body. We're going to do both of these at the same time. Take advantage of your IntelliSense with it. Left curly brackets, hit enter, and it automatically puts that. And we're going to do for all pages in here. I always like to use the margin is to max out to be 0 with it. Is the attribute and the property is 0, and the padding that we're going to actually use, hit tab and type 0 and come to the down arrow key outside of your right curly brackets. We're going to do that with it. So we're going to max out basically the margins and the pattern of the entire browser to fit everything in there. Between our elements is every time we use the HTML element and the body element, it's going to be maxed out with it as well. That's the first thing I need for you to do for the index.css. Index.css is what we're going to use that for. The second one, we're going to come in again. This is making sure that you have your basic content in here with it as well. Everything goes in here. I had you put your name in here and all this stuff. You're welcome to take all of this, and if you want, just cut it and put it between your div tags with it. It doesn't matter. We're just playing around right now with it. So nothing is no harm done here with it. So you can put all that stuff in here, and that, if you save this, just do file save all with this in, because you have files and it's still there. Everything's still there, and you notice that's pushed against the edge a little closer with it. So I want to maximize the entire page with it. That's all you have done with it as well. Again, the 3 CDN files that I have from the React and the React DOM with it, and then the Babel files with it as well. So I gave you those links in there. Make sure you put that in there with it as well. Again, this is the basic skeleton I want you to start out with, and it should look something like this at this time with it. I'd like for you to come in right now. So in this next exercise, I want you to do is, again, I'm going to remove this content right here. I'm going to write some index.js by pulling in some files. I'm going to go to the index, come down here. Inside, this is index.javascript file, index.js file I'm looking at right now. So in here, we're going to use some library files. So I want you to make sure you have a header on there. We're going to start out with React and use the DOM. And let me move this out of the way. That's a huge cursor. React DOM with it. You notice I put the dot syntax. So it recognized the CDN files that I have access to it. And I'm going to use a method. Anytime you put a period after an object with this thing, I'm going to use the method is called render with it. And I'm going to put a parentheses in here. All right. Left parentheses with it. All right. And I want to talk to you about what this means in a second with it. Because the first syntax is what you want to render with it. So I'm just going to type. Let me type in here. You put your HTML tags in here. So the first one I want to do is an H. What do we do in the other one? H2. I'm sorry, I call this an H1 with it. So this needs to be in. Let me take this out. So this is an H2, right? And my H2, my other one is I ask you to put your name. Right? Goes here. And if you notice that I left this on the top here, this is from our last hard coding of your other page on your index one with it, right? So I wiped that off. Okay, remember that? This is from here, and I took that off. That's why you used to have a white dot over here with it. But I'm going to change that. So I'm going to do your name goes here with it, right? And so it's what you want to, that's the first parameter, what you want to put in there. The second one is where do you want it with it. So where do you want it? Document.get ID, okay, element by ID, which is this one right here. and we want to point to what? Where you want it. I'm going to pass in a parameter called root. Okay, remember the ID, this ID over here. Let me word wrap this thing. I thought I could. So this is the same line, but it's word wrapped with it as well. So it's pulling in the ID because you gave it an ID. This ID, I'm going to jump over here to the HTML, is this word ID, and the word root is this right here with it. So the root is this root right here. So it is case sensitive, folks. So JavaScript is case sensitive. So that's all I have to do. So if I save this right now, remember how both of these files have not been saved. So I'm going to say File, Save All with it, right? Look, your name goes here with it. So I've already put in a render with it as well. Now, there is a little trick to this thing I want to share with you on this, is that I can't do another second parameter in this thing, right? I can't come in and do another H2 like this and then type in what I asked for my other one again. I forgot what my other message, what did I say? Course number, is it? So let's say course. All right, like that. So I said I did course IMED2315. This is not going to work. I'll tell you why. Let me do this. I'm going to place my cursor, because everything on one line is very hard to read. So I'm going to place my cursor after the left parentheses and hit enter. I'm going to tab over so you can see this a little better with it, right? And I'm going to place my cursor after the right parentheses and hit this. So it makes it a little better definition for us to see a two-dimensional coding with this as well. So I can't do this by having two elements on the same line. Remember now I was telling you what you want to render. If I went here, if you notice that if I clicked on here, look, it has a little red line underneath it. It's not happy. It has a light mark and all that stuff with it. So if I went in here right now, the way how I have it, I have two. Even though I open up H2 and closing off my H2, everything looks good with it. And if I did Control S and save this, boom, I have an error, right? Of course, it's not going to present anything with it. So I can't do this in the two elements with it. It needs to be in a parent brackets. So what do? One way to do it, to fix it, is you could put this in, I don't know, put this in like a div tag, for example. Okay, so here's the closing of the div tag, right? So let me chop that and put that at the end of this closing here. All right, so I have nested basically I've nested with it. So if I really thought about this and how this really works with it, let me move this in the right place here. So if I really done this properly with this, it would look like this, right? Okay, when that does that look, is that easier to read? Now again, you got to have that comma there. You need to be nested by something with it. So if I save this file, look, it pops up because it has to be inside of a parent nesting with it. Matter of fact, it doesn't have to be a div. Matter of fact, how do you like that? All right, you can actually do this and still work, right? Look. Well, it doesn't work. Sorry. Let me Control and Z with it. Okay, put it inside the div. I'm sorry. I went too far with it. You gotta have some sort of element in there. I cheated a little bit one time back then with it. I didn't give it a tag number, see if it works or not. But apparently it doesn't work. I messed up. So you got to get it has to be in a nested, some sort of nesting, and the div tag is the best thing to nest in under. So Control S saves it. It should put it back to the way how I have it. Well, that was on the fly. That was not a part of the video, by the way. So I want you to see this with it as well. If I want to have another one, well, guess what? You can go in here. You can go in. You can put in another one. You can do, like, I don't know, do a paragraph tag. It doesn't have to be an H1 tag. You can say I think Dan is being silly. Okay, some message like this, right? and Control S saves it, and here it is. Here's that paragraph tag that you had put on there as well. So the message here is what? You can actually list out your content, and it has to be in parent directory. The first parameter, like I said, the first parameter is what? The first parameter has to be / is a comment, ignores the line. So first parameter is what do you want to render? And the second parameter is where do you want to render? Okay, what and the where, right? Parameter. All right. So just to give you, that's a little script that with it. So again, we're still coming in to this really new with it. So just to put the seed out there with it, and how you actually this is your first, basically your first JavaScript with it as well. So again, what does React DOM render mean with it, and what is this right here? Get element by ID root with it. Get used to this. All this goes inside of here. So all this content is put here. As you can see, there's nothing on this page right now, right? Now, again, I showed you from, if I went to the browser and looked at the inspect with it, and you could see, look, all of this is written. It pulls it off of your code. It's pulling it off, and you're scripting and all this stuff with it. If I expand this, look, you could see everything that I put in my div tags with it. Expand that, you could see this part right here. All right, and I hover over that. Now this is all pulling it in, but you don't see it in this code right here. You see? I want you to take a screenshot of this. All right, I want to see the inspector. It has all of this. I want to see the content of this, and more important, I want you to take a screenshot of the index.javascript with it. Right? It looks like this. Your browser looks like this, and your inspector looks like this with it. So this concludes the that step that I want you to do is the, what is that? This step right here. So you're going to put that in B, okay? I haven't written it yet, but that's where it goes. All right. I'm going to stop the video right